Peace. Welcome to Food for Thought Show. Today I have a dynamic, super positive, super productive guest. She's the CEO and founder of Think Like a Boss, Act Like a Lady. Her name is Alexandra. And as I stated, she's a CEO, she's an entrepreneur, she's an author. And one of the most interesting and inspiring things about her is that she actually left a comfortable, cubicle-having corporate America job to pursue her dreams. I mean, I can't wait to get into that story. She's a choreographer. She worked with TV networks like VH1, MTV, Comcast, as well as some artists like French Montana, T.I., Naughty by Nature. What's good, Jersey?
What's good, Jersey?
Yeah. I mean, the list goes on, but I'll let her tell her story. But one thing I want to mention is her passion and desire to empower women and young people when it comes to bossing up and entrepreneurship. So before we even get into that part, I want to know, what gave you the courage to leave a comfortable corporate job and pursue your dreams? What's inside of you that just went, let's go for it?
Well, first of all, thank you for that introduction. Like sometimes when you hear it, it's just like, Dad, who we talking about? Right? So thank you for that.
Of course.
But wow. So guys, I was making six figures before I was 25 years old, working in technology, and I call that whole time of my life death by cubicle. Because my creative soul was dying. So what was happening was I was working in this corporate environment, but I was like leaving early to run to New York City to do an audition, to do a gig. Like I would leave the corporate office to run to MTV, right? And I feel like I was living this double life. But I always knew that my authentic self was always a creator and an entertainer. So when I was at work in my office clothes in a boardroom, I felt more like an actor there than I did on stage.
Wow.
So something had to change, and it just became to a point where, yeah, I was making a lot of money, but I wasn't happy. And I'm like, why am I not happy? To me, success was always, the money, the house. I had all of that already, and it still wasn't enough. So I started to plan, because for me, I think it's important to take calculated risks, especially when you have people depending on you and you have a mortgage, okay? You're not just running out. So I took a calculated risk, and I started my company while I was still working in corporate America. Yeah. And it wasn't until year 3 or 4 that my company was formed that I was able to get the courage to leave.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. And so you said you felt like an actor when you were working. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what suggestion do you have for people who are sitting in their cubicle and they're thinking about taking a step towards their entrepreneurship or their dreams? What would you say to those people?
Well, definitely I would say listen to your voice, because I know there's a lot of people right now that is going through that, and just because they don't want to be uncomfortable, they're staying in that situation. And honestly, that's a lot of where depression forms, a lot where you're just so unhappy because you're not listening to your voice, aka listening to God telling you what to do. But basically, it's about planning, because your job right now is funding your dream. Like that is okay for you to still be working your 9 to 5, but getting prepared to leave that and using your money to fund your dream. Because guess what? The dream is not going to fund itself at first. It's not. And you just have to calculate it. And people have to understand they're using so many different skills at work. I know people at work that are wearing so many different hats because their boss has them doing so many different things. Right. They can use those skills for their business. So believe it or not, some of you guys already have the skills to run a business because you're doing it for your boss every day. So it's just really planning and sitting there and organizing everything and then making that leap of faith. But you have to have all your ducks in a row first. Don't just jump out the window. Jump out the window with a parachute.
That's right. Okay, good. Now, I've heard you mention authentic self.
Yes.
A few times. Once in this conversation and then other times. Can you elaborate about that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So authenticity is something that I was just always good at. I'm not sure if it's my zodiac sign or just I don't care about what people think, but being myself always did come easy for me. That's why when I'm in a situation, when I feel like I'm an actor,
right,
I get uncomfortable because I don't want to have to act for anybody.
Yeah.
Being your authentic self is like letting your soul shine outwards. Even when I was in corporate America, I was able to do that with my fashion. Everybody knew who I was because of my loud personality and my clothes.
Yeah.
Even though I was in a corporate setting, say we were all wearing black, but I would wear black with polka dot shoes and with a polka dot bow. Like it was always something that differentiated me from everybody else. And that way, the CEO knew me by a first name basis.
Wow.
Just because of my clothes.
Standing out.
Yes. One of my mottos, don't steal it. But don't dress to impress, dress to be remembered.
There you go.
And that's why fashion for me is such a big deal with my brand and my personality and everything. But just moving forward to authenticity. Once you know who you are, everything after that comes simply. Like everything starts to fall in your lap once you know who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. But if you don't take that time to figure out who you are, you're always going to be stuck in this place of who you think other people want you to be, who your parents want you to be, who you need to be for your husband or for your kids. Like you need to be you for yourself first before you can do anything else. But once you realize who yourself is, then you can find out what your dream is and what your passion is, and everything else comes after that.
That's right. And I always even tell people who have issues with relationships, I don't think you can even have a successful relationship, intimate relationship, until you know who you are.
Who you are and what you're going to accept and not accept, and what your boundaries are, and what you're actually looking for in a mate, all depends on yourself.
Exactly.
Yes, definitely.
Now, a lot of people struggle with discovering their authentic self, as you put it. You know, as a life coach, that's one of the main questions that I receive from people. How did you discover your authentic self?
When I think about authenticity, I think about 10-year-old Alex. I think about childlike Alex, because when you're a kid, you have all these visions of what you want to be. I want to be a dancer. I want to be like you already know what you're attracted to.
Yes.
But when you become an adult, sometimes that's where dreams go to die. Because responsibilities come in the way and, you know, family, not to say that's a bad thing, but it's just that our priorities change and we forget ourselves. But if you go back to your childlike nature, that's where creativity is born, right?
Yes,
your
absolutely.
Childlike nature. So if you just remember the things that used to make you tick when you were a kid, I guarantee you can start to walk towards your passions.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, you wrote a book.
Yes.
Can you give us 3 tips from your book? Your 3 favorite tips?
My 3 favorite tips. One of my tips that I love, of course, is making sure that you treat everybody the same. Now, what I mean by that is that there was an example that I used in the book where I had this big gig with Alec Baldwin, and you know, I treated the janitor the same way I treated the director, the same way I treated the casting agent. But it was that person that was at the front door who remembered me from our conversation, because we close a circle of conversation. I always say when you're sharing something with somebody, someone's sharing with you, you should always close a conversation. That's how you connect with people past the surface level. And I connected with her, and she's the one who gave me one of my next big gigs to be on the $100,000 pyramid, just because I was just that friendly with her and made sure I treated her with the same respect as everybody else.
Wow, that's peace.
You never know who you're going to meet that's going to change your life. So you have to be open to meet new people. Like that's key to success, your network. So there's 1. 2 is, what is your why? Like, why are you doing this?
Yes.
That's actually the number 1 tip. So it's 31 tips to build your brand from the inside out.
That's right.
So it's 31 all the way to 1. And number 1 is, what is your why? What is your anchor that's holding you in troubled waters. And I think that's something that people need to find before they start a business and go into entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurship ain't cute. Yes, we make it look cute on Instagram, but it's not cute.
That's right.
All of the time. And people need to understand that the journey is not for everybody. It's for the strong-minded, the strong-hearted. So you have to figure out what your why is before you can continue. Lastly, it's a real simple one, but you have to have a business plan. I'm not going to tell you how many business people I consult that have these great business ideas, but cannot put it into fruition or cannot, stay open past 2 years because they skip the business plan because they think that they don't need that. It forces you to think through every aspect of your business that you wouldn't think about if, you're just so gung-ho and you're just trying to get your dream off the ground. It takes two things. It does take passion, but it also takes the know-how. Like you have to plan it out properly.
That's right. Great. To your first one, one thing that I learned from one of my teachers, whose name is Chike Okoa, he said, let me get this right. You're one breakthrough away. You're one person, You're one person away from your breakthrough.
Gotcha.
Now, the key thing is you don't know who that person is.
Exactly. So you treat everybody with respect. You never know who's going to come into your life to change your life. Even if it's for the worst. Because that's a lesson. You might have needed that lesson to level up, to boss up to the next level.
Yes.
So, absolutely.
That's right. Now, you mentioned your why. So what's your why?
My why is, first of all, legacy. My why is my son. Just because I know once I become a legend, there's going to be no limits for him.
I want to say you already are a legend, but go ahead.
Yeah. But my why is my community. Like, I love Black people so much. Like, I don't think you guys understand how much I love being Black and how much I love Black people, how much I want Black people to win. Every time I go into a school to foster their dream, that's my why. I always tell them, even if y'all don't listen to me, and I get one of you guys to do something right, then I win, That's
right.
So it's just my why is in so many different places. Like, it's really for the greater good. That's what purpose is. You're following your purpose when your goal is for the greater good and you know that God put you here for that.
That's right. I'll shade of that. Now, first of all, how rude of me. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I know that you're getting an award. You're getting flown to Virginia.
Yes.
Can you tell us about Share a little bit about that. Let us know what's going on with that.
So it just so happens that the work that I've been doing, because mind you, the evolution of hip hop, where this is where we are right now, this was started in 2012. Now, the evolution of hip hop is a dance school only on the hip hop culture.
Nice.
That's me being authentic. I'm a hip hop head to the T.
Yeah.
I mean, I DJ'd, I cut a record, a rap album. Like, I did all of that, and I do hip hop dance because I was never trained a day in my life for dance, ever. I learned how to dance by watching music videos.
Wow.
And I traveled the world as a dancer. So there's a lot of work that I do at the evolution of hip hop to promote Black excellence in the Black arts, and I stay true to that. It doesn't matter where I go, whether it's Paris, I teach in Paris, or in Italy, it's hip hop. Like, I will be in Paris and I will start battling a hip hop dancer on the street because that's how strong our hip hop culture is.
Yes.
So there's a lot of work that I do there. We do assemblies where we go into schools and walk the kids through the evolution of hip hop, why it was started and where it is now. And I don't care if it's a white school or a Black school, whatever, y'all gonna take this knowledge, right?
That's right.
So there's that. And then they also heard about the whole Think Like a Boss, where now I'm trying to move my community forward by making sure we know how to create generational wealth, to make sure that we know how to create just legacies and something for our families to live off of when we're not here. So that was just something that's so huge that they saw that I was doing in both realms of entertainment and of entrepreneurship. And again, there's so many pockets. There's the whole thing where I just focus on women and do the conferences and the workshops. Then there's the retreats. Then there's the Think Like a Boss Kids. Then there's the TV show. Then there's the book. So many ways that I'm trying to make sure there's no excuse for you not to hear from me what I'm trying to tell you,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
So once they got wind of that, it was first just an honorary Black History Month on the radio show 94.3 The Beat in Virginia. And from there, they partner up with this citywide like campaign for the end racism, like an end racism race that they're doing, which accumulates 700 people that come to do that race in Charleston or some city like that. And since they were partnered with the radio show, they were listening to the commercials that was coming on, and the commercial that was for me came on, and boom, that's when it was like, we want to give this girl an award. So I'm one of there's 10 of us, but I'm one of the only ones that's coming out of the New York City area.
Congrats, my sis.
Thank you. What's up. Thank you.
You know, there's a lot of women out there. I was raised by a single parent, you know, and one thing that I hear, whether it comes from taking control of your health or pursuing education or entrepreneurship, a lot of women who are raising children on their own say they just don't have the time or the energy at the end of the night to pursue that. What would you say to those people?
That's a good question. So you have time for the things you want to have time for. Unfortunately, one thing that I see across the board with our people in general is they're wasting a lot of time on things that don't matter. For example, the average person spends almost 4 hours a day on social media.
Wow.
4 hours. Now imagine if you could get that 4 hours back, what you can invest in yourself and in your business. The same with television. Guys, I don't know when's the last time I watched television. Everybody talks about Scandal and all these fun shows, Empire. I'm like, I'm trying to build an empire.
That's right.
So I don't want to sit here and watch Empire.
That's
That's not saying that there's anything wrong with these shows. I know they're very entertaining. I'm not trying to talk down to the person that's watching these shows, but it's just that when are we going to start investing in us and our time?
That's right.
And another thing to that is we're in this new age of YouTube. Now, the YouTube could teach you anything, okay? I feel like you can go there and get a class from like a Harvard grad on some of the best knowledge or things that you need for your business.
Yes.
So I feel like the excuses now should be really minimal.
Yes.
If you go home and you just have an extra 30 minutes to an hour, go on YouTube and try to learn something.
Yes.
So I know that it's hard being a mom. Hey, I am one. But it's just how do you find the time, and when you start investing in yourself and starting to make time for the things that matter.
That's right. And what I always say too is like, most of the time, if you see me, I'll have bags under my eyes.
Right.
Like you're gonna be tired. It's uncomfortable.
Right.
You might be worn out, but you got to do it and just know that eventually things would transform for you.
Right. Late nights, early mornings. That's what I always say.
That's
Sometimes
right.
I get 2 hours of sleep.
That's right.
I remember in college because I had my son in the middle of college. So in college, there was some days that I stayed up 48 hours to get it done. And I graduated on time with 2 majors, 2 degrees.
Wow.
Like, it is just like you just have to get it done. You have to make time for the things that matter.
Now, what do you do as far as balancing everything out? Because you're so busy, so productive. Is there like a certain hobby that you have that you use to unwind?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a play fiend, like to the 10th power. I feel like a lot of my balance comes from that, and I love to laugh. Like, laughter is like the music of the soul to me. So I like making people laugh, and I like laughing. So
Yes.
With that being said, I make sure that my life is jam-packed with things that are fun and things that I like to do. I am surrounded by my passions, like everywhere that I turn. That was one of my affirmations to myself when I was in Death by Cubicle.
Yes.
I have to make sure that I live a life that's surrounded with my passions. So as much as I work, I have equal playtime. So for me, instead of going to the gym, I would go ride my bright yellow bike. My bike is mad yellow. It has like bows on it. It is just so extra. And I'll be riding out in the suburbs on my bike, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about that childlike nature I was telling you about.
That's right.
Traveling is a huge part of my life. I take at least 6 to 8 vacations a year to counteract how much I work. And for me, that keeps me grounded because one, I can disconnect from work because there's a line between just working really hard and becoming a workaholic.
That's facts.
Right? So I want to make sure that I don't cross that line. So I'm always making sure I take these mental breaks, again, for my mental health as well. And I always just do things that I love. Like I was a ball player, right, in high school. I always make sure I pick up a basketball. Me and my son, we go ball up. It's so funny because we'll go to the park. You know, they see a kid and this woman, right? And then we just bust everybody's behind. We just bust everybody's behind there. They be leaving mad. But anyway, so, you know, I just revert back to the things that I know that I love. Like my office just has all these colorful stuff around it, and unicorns, you know, and things like that. I just always have to make sure that life is balanced because there's so much negativity that's being thrown out at you. Right. And it's like, how are you balancing that? Like as soon as I see a situation that I do not like, or red flags in people, because people have a hard time doing that. When red flags come, they try to just swat it away and try to keep going. No, like everything is there. All the signs are there. So when I get signs in situations or in people, I go the opposite way because no one is worth your mental health. Yes. No one is worth your mental health. So I feel like that all plays a part in how I'm able to be so bubbly all the time.
And you love what you do, right?
And I love what I do. When you wake up every day to do what you love, it is like you're waking up every day to have fun. Like when I'm playing these events, when I am teaching at the dance school or performing on Radio City Music Hall stage, that's my soul jumping around everywhere. And it's like to get your life to that point, that's success. And that's what I was missing when I was making $130,000 a year. Like my soul wasn't making that money.
That's right. That's right.
So success to me is actually being happy and helping people on the way to find their happiness.
That's right. Consider me part of that army. I'm with you.
Yes, he's part of the Think Like a Boss network.
Yes, of course. I have the same intentions as well. That's why I started this YouTube channel, and I'm also working on becoming a professional speaker. You know, I speak already.
Yes, you do.
But it's time for me to really take that on as a full-time thing. So that's what it is. We are part of the same army, fighting the same fight. You heard?
Absolutely.
Elevate the community. Now,
agreed.
I know you come from a mixed background.
Yes.
Your parents are Haitian and Dominican, right? And I just want to say that this within itself is a revolutionary act. My parents are Dominican. I was born here. And, you know, your parents are Haitian and Dominican. And we're sitting here unified with a positive intention. And they have I want to say BS, just beef.
So much
that comes from self-hatred.
Yes.
You know, so how did you deal with that? Having parents from a mixed background, which two cultures that actually are in conflict with each other.
So for us, I felt like the mixed background is what made it easier as a child. The history there, unfortunately, is for my parents, not for the offspring. So when my mom was little, her grandmother is Dominican. And she used to call my mother child of the night and a nigger baby and things like that. So when I found that out, so now my mom has this hate, right?
Self-hatred, yeah.
And when she told me, now I'm just really upset. So I started connecting more only with my Haitian side because I felt that the Dominican side didn't really want us. And now my great-grandmother also got mad at my grandmother, my mother's mom, for finding this beautiful chocolate Haitian man to fall in love with, to have my mom, right? So there's all this tension within that realm that almost deleted my Dominican side. So again, I just came back home from Haiti and I felt so connected, and to me, I never set foot in the Dominican Republic and never really wanted to because I felt like I wasn't welcomed. And then you see the media and things that were happening there. I was actually at a rally recently, but the thing I loved about that rally, it was Haitians and Dominicans coming together. Nice. We were at the rally speaking against the hatred that the Dominicans were trying to deport all the Haitians and all that was going on a year ago or 2 years ago.
Right.
But so now it's giving me this love-hate relationship with the other side of my culture that I'm trying to fix internally. because of the conflict that it caused on my family.
Right. Oh, cool. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's something personal.
Yeah.
And to the Dominicans out there, and this is coming from a Dominican, knock that off, man. Listen, if you have melanin, you are black.
Hello.
You know, embrace your African roots.
Yes.
Knock it off. You know what I'm saying? So let's move on. Now, as we start to wrap things up, now you mentioned 3 principles from your book, but I want to know, what are 3 success principles that you use to propel you forward in all the endeavors that you're involved in?
Okay, well, for me, let's see, 3 principles. I feel like we said it so many times, but just like the whole authentic part.
Okay, so being authentic?
Yes, and one part of that is you know who you are by knowing who your heroes are. So just knowing the people that you look up to can also help you find your path. For example, for me, I was obsessed with Harriet Tubman. I thought she was amazing. Like, to me, they don't really know her birthday, but I'm like, she's an Aries. No one got to tell me. I already know she's an Aries, right? Only
nah,
Aries.
she's a Sagittarius. You heard?
She a fire sign. She a fire sign.
All right. I'm a fire sign too, so cool.
Right. But for me, her going back for her people.
Yes.
Through troubled times was amazing.
Amazing.
And I find myself in a modern day Harriet Tubman, because some people don't know they're slave to the system, to corporate America.
That's right.
And I'm going back for them. And I won't stop until I feel like I have enough, or, they wake up, you guys wake up, the community, right? So just back to just authenticity and knowing who you are. 2 is consistency. You guys have to understand that you have to beat this like a dead horse.
Talk about it.
Like, it's not going to happen overnight. Again, my company was started. It wasn't until year 4 that I'm like, you know what? I can make a living off of this. But that wasn't because of me just chilling. It was because of consistency and tunnel vision. Tunnel vision and focus. Like, you just have to have that. And 3rd is just self-motivation. Not motivation necessarily from, going to an event and getting it somewhere else, but just that self-motivation. How are you keeping yourself motivated to go to the next level? And that's something that only you can determine.
Wow. Thank you. All right. So what is the next step? What's the overall goal for Think Like a Boss, Act Like a Lady? When would you know that the movement arrived? Or will it ever arrive?
Well, I feel like it's arriving, like it's here. Okay. Right? And the only reason why I say that in confidence is because we are nationwide now. When I first started Think Like a Boss, it was in my alma mater in Jersey City, New Jersey, St. Peter's University, about 30 people, right? And I thought I was doing it. Ooh, we got 30 people, right? And then it's like now going to different states. I went to Arizona for our retreat, and this lady at the spa was just staring at me. And of course, you know, the black girl, like, what you looking at? Like, I didn't want to do that, right? But I just kind of, I know. Yeah. So I just kind of was like, I went up to introduce myself, and she was just like, oh my God. I'm like, what? She was like, I have your book, right? So that's all the way in Arizona. Yes. So that, to me, I felt like that was God saying, hey, girl, just wanted to show you something real quick. I need you to keep doing what you're doing.
You mentioned the signs and symbols.
Yes, right. The signs and the symbols. So I feel like I'm at a point of arrival. But for me, the big picture is like the national television show. Continuing to work internationally. I have some projects that I'm going to start empowering women in Africa and Ghana.
Wow.
We actually have a meeting on Sunday.
Wow.
So for me, it's just like there's no cap. I don't want to put a cap on myself.
Okay.
As an international traveler, there's no reason for me not to make these connections overseas as well. Yes. If I'm already teaching in some of these countries, why not start empowering there as well? Like, I feel like there's no limit, and I refuse to limit myself.
Wow. Speaking about traveling, I didn't mention she was featured in the Essence magazine.
I was.
Where were you on the cover?
I was in Santorini, Greece.
Okay.
Santorini, Greece. And again, which I just want to throw this out there too, because travel is one of my passions that I also turned into a business. I have 3 businesses, and I want to make sure everyone out there understands that do not feel bad for making money for your passions. Like, that's not, I can't stand sometimes like, oh, I just want to knit for me. Like, it's okay if you charge for your passions. It's yours. That's your talent. And it's okay to try to find a way to make money off of that. That's what thinking like a boss is. So once I figured out I was traveling so much, I'm like, how can I turn this into income rather than it just being pulled out my pocket all the time?
Word.
And that's when Travel Bit and Lex was formed, the travel blog, the travel clothing line. And my trip to Italy last year was actually paid for. I didn't have to pay for anything.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just like finding ways to think like a boss in different aspects of your life.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that. That was one of my issues, actually. Because, you know, being a life coach, that's what they call it. But you got to realize, for me, it's not being a life coach. I'm just being myself. You know, even if you talk to people who knew me since grammar school, high school, they'll tell you True is being who he is. You know, I was in the streets back then, but as far as my personality and the fact that I just love to communicate and love to speak and love to read and learn and share, just came natural to me. So I actually struggled with actually charging people to do what I just do naturally.
I hear that a lot, but at the end of the day, you're providing a service, right? So you shouldn't feel bad for that. Like, think like a boss. I love you guys, but it's not a nonprofit.
Word.
It's a for-profit company because we are performing services, so many different services and so many different avenues. Yes, I love what I do and I love you guys, but I can't be poor. I can't lose my house for it. Like, I have to take care of myself as well because that's the only way I can take care of anybody else.
That's right. And there has been an investment in developing yourself, paying for workshops, paying for the books, the trainings,
all of that.
The degree.
It's not free.
That's right. Okay. So for the people that's watching, and I know you touched on this earlier, but the people that are very, not only fearful, but they're filled with excuses as far as I don't have the resources. We mentioned already the time thing. You already killed that.
Right.
What would you say to those people who are just in a victim mentality or I don't have mentality?
Go out and get mentality. Like we just have to change our mentality. Wow. And that's really, I feel like us changing the narrative and us going back for everyone else is what's going to help. I feel like the Wakanda community reminded me of Black successful people that don't like to go back in their communities for everybody else. That was another lesson that came out to me in that movie. So once they see examples of what Black success look like, that's how we start to change the mindset.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, you have Black and brown children that don't even know what that success even looks like.
Yes.
So we can't really expect them to just be, wake up one day and think that they're going to be this millionaire, start a business. Off of what are they going off of?
Right.
And especially if they're watching Love and Hip Hop. No offense. If they're watching Love and Hip Hop, that's not really, the examples that they need. So in reality, the mindset has to change for an individual. They have to know what success looks like and how to get there. But in order for that to happen, we need to work together. This is a collective effort.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell us about what you have coming up and how can they find you?
Yes. So we have just...
And also, how can they purchase your book, by the way, too?
Yes. Okay. So first and foremost, you can find me at actladythinkboss.com. We have everything up on there. We have all the events and all the event pages. The things that we have going on right now is a book tour. You got me spilling the beans and stuff. I didn't even put it out there.
Get that exclusive.
Yeah, got that exclusive. There's a book tour going on right now. It's starting at the oldest Black-owned bookstore in the nation. It's actually in Philadelphia. So that's the kickoff of the tour. Yes. So we're going to there and then back to DC, to Chicago, and then to LA. So a lot of different places in the United States, all Black-owned.
Told you she's busy.
Yeah. What else? We have another conference coming up that's going to be in Philly. Again, that's the exclusive. Y'all just got that. And we're going to Toronto. Exclusive. Y'all just got that. And yeah. And we're just doing so many things. Like I said, we're going to start going overseas. That's going to be 2019. And to get the book, you can go on actladythinkboss.com, or you can go on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles also to get it.
Listen, we got to support our people that are making moves, keeping us at heart, keeping our best interests at heart. So support the sister, go cop the book, and sign up to her events. So I'm definitely going to try to make that Philly joint.
Yes, that's going to be fun.
Yes, yes, yes. So for everybody that's liking the video, everybody who subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And remember, continue to grow and glow. Peace.